Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Up the Villa podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be chatting to 5 Aston Villa fans talking about all things Aston Villa. If you can hit that subscribe and like button, it'll be really appreciated. Let's get stuck in. Up the Villa. So we're joined by our first caller of the night, Justin. So how do you feel like the game went the other day against Wolves?
Yeah, how you doing, Luke? Nice to see you again. It was another typical Villa performance, wasn't it? I think the first half, quite impressed to start with the way we started the game, especially. I thought we kept the ball better. We moved the ball better. We certainly seem to have tightened up at the back since we've come back from the lockdown, which has probably been a bit of a cost to going forward. Unfortunately, we sort of lost a little bit of spark, if we had any spark going forward. But defensively, they do seem to have been working on that. Shape looked a lot better. We didn't look overawed by playing against the Wolves, who were obviously a very decent side. And ultimately, I thought we probably could have sneaked a point out of the game.
Yeah.
But Villa did what Villa do always, is then to switch off and score. But that's what happens against the better sides, unfortunately. You don't really need to give them a lot of space or a lot of time. And they do punish you, which is what we have struggled to do this season, is sort of punishing teams when we've been on top. The amount of times we've been on top in games. And I don't think we was on top against the Wolves particularly, but we certainly matched them in the first half, and we did create one or two half chances, probably you'd call them. And that's what's probably costing us now, is we're not taking the slim chances we're getting, and that again is probably a byproduct of not having the better quality players, because they don't need so many good chances to put them away. You might only get half a chance or one decent chance in a game, and you need the quality of player to be able to put the ball away. So that was probably something that's probably been a recurring problem through the season. But since we've come back, we definitely look stronger at the back than we have been. I just hope really that we can just do enough in some of the, I'm not saying easier games, because we have got a tough run in. We can just nick a goal from somewhere in one of maybe the home games, the Palace, the Arsenal game. Arsenal on paper, again, one of the top 6 sides in the country, but they aren't having a great time of it at the moment. Palace are one of them teams that on the day, very good, some very good players. And obviously the West Ham game, the last game of the season, they're struggling just like we are for form. So against one of those sides, when we do get that chance, we have got to put it away, and we've got to keep the back door shut as well, which I think that's probably one of Dean's biggest problems this season, is when he's got one bit right, it's been at the cost of another bit. So, like I say, at the moment, we are looking better at the back, but that's caused us to lose our cutting edge, if we ever had one, up top. And at the start of the season, when we were scoring a few goals, we didn't keep the back door shut. Yeah. So it's been a steep learning curve, all season, really. I am hopeful still. I'm still going to stay positive. I'm still going to hope we can stay up. I think at the moment it's looking more likely we'll stay up because of other teams being as poor or poorer than us, rather than us being, decent. But the form of the rest of the teams round by us is very poor. I mean, as we speak now, Bournemouth are getting beaten quite comfortably by Newcastle. I think it's the West Ham game against Chelsea tonight, so I'm hoping that'll be a good win for Chelsea. With the games we've got coming up, especially the next 2, we have got to stay within touching distance of the pack. So that means the other team's not picking up many points. I do see us finishing above Bournemouth. I think we can. Norwich, I think, are done now, so that's them out of the equation. If we can nick above Bournemouth, then it could be a straight shootout between us, West Ham, and I probably would still count Watford in it. I was sort of expecting them to go away from us, to be honest, because they, especially that win against Liverpool, which everyone remembers, that they do seem to have a win against a decent side in them. But again, I've watched them since they've come back, and they've been pretty poor. I think they've got a few problems with players, and they've fell out with bits and bobs with lockdown. So, if their form continues to be as poor as it is, then I think you can't discount them really from being dragged into it. But ultimately, all rests on picking up. I'm not even wins. I don't think wins. I think points.
Yeah.
You look, it's that tight. 27, 28 points. The odd point here and there. I mean, if we could get a point in the next 2 games, that could be massive. Really massive. And so we can't discount. Even playing out a really horrible draw, just put everyone behind the ball. I think against Liverpool, to be honest, a really narrow defeat is probably the best we can hope for now. If we could just lose by not many, because it's looking unlikely we're going to get anything against them. Then a 1-0 defeat could be a good result for us, with the goal difference tiny as well at the bottom.
Yeah, I think you've made some really good points, to be fair. I think the one thing that's standing out for me as well is everybody's saying we've got really difficult games to come. But if you compared our fixtures to what we've played to, say, Watford's, at this moment in time, although we've only got 2 points, but we are the most informed team in the bottom half, in the relegation area anyway. Everybody's got 3 points between them, and we've got 2 of them. And that just shows how bad everybody is at the bottom. And like you,
I think the pressure's come to them. To be honest, the pressure's got to all of the teams. I think they've come back, and it's such a short, run of games in such a quick succession. Obviously, it's weird circumstances to play in. I don't think the teams at the bottom have. I think they've all reacted pretty badly, really, to the return. Yeah. And I think it's almost instant pressure. It's like, we're back, we've got to get results straight away, otherwise we're down. So it's a very weird scenario they're all playing in. And at the moment, none of them have really took to it very well. They've all sort of struggled. So, yeah, a point here or there is huge, absolutely massive. I mean, it's looking less likely it's going to be anywhere near 40 points to stay up. So it could be if we could get anywhere and get an odd point here and there, we really could be in with a good chance of staying up, however unlikely that sounds. What's the point? What's the point otherwise? We know the situation we're in. None of us are daft. We're all sort of struggling to sort of stay up. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that we can get something.
Definitely. And what are your thoughts on the recruitment area at the moment then?
I think I'm the same as probably 99% of Villa fans. The recruitment is the thing that's let us down. I don't want to go into the money side of things. And there's reasons why they spent the amount of money they did on the amount of players. We was in a tricky position coming into the season with so many players leaving, and they had to recruit fairly quickly a huge amount of players. And to recruit that amount of players in probably the strongest league in the world is very difficult. I think the biggest trick they missed, and they probably did the same thing as they did last time went down, is trying to sign all these young, hungry players that you try to improve, and that's been a massive mistake. The biggest mistake for me that whoever's decision it is to make signings is, if that is Suso, is that they didn't sign enough players of Premier League quality. I mean, Tom Heaton's the standout there. I know he's the goalkeeper, but he was the type of signing we should have made more of. We needed a defender in that category, maybe a Cahill. He needed a midfielder to stick in the middle of midfield of that category. But they went away from older players. They didn't want to sign older players. And I think that's a mistake. So the recruitment, unfortunately, you got to say, as it was very poor. So I think Suso really he'll be the first casualty, I think, should we go down. And even if we don't go down, I think it's pretty widely reported today that they're going to be looking at the recruitment side of things. And I'll be very surprised whichever way we end up the season with, he keeps his job, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on Dean Smith? I know there's been a lot of talk, especially after the Wolves game. I know there was a few articles saying that he was on the verge of getting the sack. Are you Smith in or Smith out?
again, this is probably the hardest call that the fans are going to have to do. Really, is the Smith debate. For obvious reasons, because of his allegiances to the club, and for what's happened to him, I suppose, in the season. I'm really on the fence with it. I'll be brutally honest. I'm 50-50.
Yeah.
Take away his Villa allegiances, and I think ultimately he hasn't been good enough this season. I think he's found the step up very, very difficult. I think his substitutions have been poor at times. I think the way he manages games, he's been poor at times. I don't think he's learned quick enough the mistakes he made early in the season.
Yeah.
He's still making today, which is a sign that, is he ready for this step up to the Premier League? I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be the one making the decision. That's right. It's difficult because if we do go down, it's the type of manager you would want is a Dean type. So, do you risk it and stick with him? I know when Burnley went down under Dyche, they stuck with him and he bounced straight back. And when he came back the second time, look what's happened since they've been back up there. They've been fairly comfortable in the Premier League. So could that happen again? I don't know. I'm 50-50, I really am. I can see the benefits of both.
Yeah, so, I always do this, but let's have a score prediction for the Liverpool game then. What are you going for?
Well, I'm as you've said a few times, I'm always positive, but unfortunately this time I can't say anything. I think I'd be deluded if I try and predict a Villa win. I know a miracle result is you never know, and Watford did beat them, I think, this season, still in the league. I can't say anything other than a Liverpool win, if I'm brutally honest. And if you ask me what I want now, I'd want a very narrow. I wouldn't want a narrow loss, but I'd take a 1-0 defeat just to keep the goal difference down.
Okay, cool, mate. It's been great chatting to you.
No problem, Luke. All the best.
Up the Villa. Thank you.
Up the Villa. See you soon, mate.
Yeah. So we're on to our second caller of the night now, Jude Aston, off Jude's Journey. My question to you then is, where do you feel like Aston Villa are at this moment in time?
Well, it's a sticky one, isn't it, really, Luke? I think we all expected at the start of the season with the recruitment and the amount of money we spent for us to be doing a lot better than it was. And don't get me wrong, I was one of those fans at the start of the season that I weren't expecting for us to be mid-table. I was expecting there to be tough times in this season. And, it definitely has been like that, but it's been a lot tougher than I expected. I'll definitely give you that. And I think with the amount of recruitment that we made and, the money we spent, we expected to be doing a lot better. But that's not where we're at. And at the moment, obviously we're sitting, at the time of recording, we're sitting 18th thanks to Newcastle's. Yeah. I think it's 4-0 at the moment. 4-0. I don't know if that's finished. So that's old Steve Bruce has definitely helped us out there. We've just got to hope that Chelsea can do the same.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I think to answer your question, I think I'm struggling to see where the goals are going to come from. Yeah. After lockdown, I thought our defence for a change had looked relatively assured since after lockdown. However, the attack now seems non-existent, and it always seems to be when the defence isn't on form, the attack can be firing, and then when it's vice versa, when the defence is on top, isn't it? So I just struggle to see where the goals are going to come from. I do think we'll stay up, but I think it will go down to the last game of the season, and it's going to be a must-win against West Ham, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's horrible thinking about having that last game as like a final.
Not good for the heart.
But I think if you offered it me right now, I would definitely take it. And I just hope that, obviously, us being to Wembley last year, we've been to the final of the Carabao Cup this year. We're accustomed to playing in high-intensity games, and hopefully we can do it. I'm like you. I look at the fixtures and I think it does look tough, but I look at teams like Watford at the minute who aren't playing as tough games that we're facing, and they're still not picking up the wins. So I think you've just got to go on game by game now and try and eke out as many points as what we possibly can. So moving forward then, Dean Smith, are you at Dean Smith in, or do you think he should have had the sack?
I don't know, mate. I think if we go down, you keep him because
Yeah.
he's got the credentials and it's proven that he can get us out of this league. And some people have made a good point on Twitter that I don't like us to compare us to other teams, but Burnley, for example, they went down under Sean Dyche, and then they come back up, and look where they've been for the last 5 or 6 years. They've been a consistent Premier League team. So I think we have to stick with Dean Smith if he goes down. If we stay up, it's 50-51 for me if we stay up, because he's done the job, and he's kept us up by the skin of his teeth, it may look like. But then at the same time, do we take a punt on another manager? Maybe if Sean Dyche comes through, do we go for him, who's got the much more Premier League experience? Or can you look at it on the other hand? I think personally for me, Suso's got a lot for this problem. I think he'll be gone at the end of the season. I think recruitment was a massive problem in the summer, looking back on it. If you gave Dean Smith the money, if you gave Dean Smith his signings, would he thrive under, would he do better in the next season? Who knows? Because personally for me, I think we should have gone, instead of cutting corners by signing cheaper players, we should have gone with what Dean Smith wanted.
Yeah, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I think you've made a great point there, on the recruitment. And I think maybe moving forward, if Dean Smith is the man, then I think the targets have to be Dean Smith players. And I think that will only benefit Aston Villa. So, moving forward, it's not a game that we can look forward to. But, what are your thoughts on the Liverpool game coming up?
Look, if there's one time to play Liverpool at the moment, you can look at it two sides, can't you? They've just won the Premier League. They've been partying for the last 48 hours, couple of days or so, the whole weekend, should we say? They'll have a game against Manchester City where they'll want to go all out and win that. So sometimes you just need a result in a season, a one-off result that can maybe kickstart our season. I was hoping that was against Wolves. It never happened. It would be even better, even spectacular if it was against the Premier League champions, wouldn't it? So, look, I'm a really positive fan, just like you are. And if we can go there with the belief that, we can get something, the only concern is I listened to Dean Smith and Tyrone Mings in their post-match interviews against Wolves, and Dean Smith definitely looked like a man that was out of his depth. When he started making excuses like he was, then, we've been there with previous managers before. Definitely Villa fans will know what that feels like. And I don't know if he's just getting towards the end of his tenure. And that's a bold statement from me, but I just, when you start making those statements in a post-match press conference, it just doesn't get any easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, cool. So can I get a score prediction for you then, off the Liverpool game?
I've had time to think about this one. I'm going to go, look, it's going to be a really tough challenge. We have to be on top of our game. And I've said it so many times this season that we have to be on top of our game and we have to turn up. Jack Grealish has to be on top form, and we have to find a way to get him on the ball. Maybe the break would have done us a little bit, an extended break compared to Liverpool would have done us a little bit better. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw, and I think goal difference and these little crucial points that we got against Newcastle and maybe Liverpool on the weekend can make the whole of a difference come the end of the season. Because I look at the teams tonight that are playing. Norwich have just lost. Bournemouth, I was watching the Bournemouth-Newcastle game. I don't have Villa. Bournemouth have done the double over us this season because they were absolutely terrible tonight from what I've seen of them. So, hopefully other team can help us out and we just get that little bit of luck, because that's what we need, don't we?
Brilliant. It's been great chatting to you, Jude.
No, thank you. And I'm really enjoying the podcast at the moment. It's a pleasure to be on.
Thank you. So I'm now joined by Ryan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
So what are your feelings towards Villa at the minute then? Where do you see the direction that we're going in?
For me, I think there's three fundamental issues which are why we're producing these performances, really, since the project restart. I think the recruitment has failed.
Yeah.
I think we haven't learnt our lessons from our last Premier League campaign in 2015-16 when we had a sort of similar strategy.
Yeah.
I think Dean Smith's role at Villa is wrong. And I think last season's accelerated success, I think it's starting to take its toll now.
Yeah.
With Dean Smith, right, I love the guy. I want him to be at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I just think the role as head coach is wrong. I want Dean Smith to be Aston Villa manager.
Yeah.
I want him making decisions throughout the club. I want him to pick the players he wants to buy, his first choice players, for his tactics that's going to suit his philosophy.
Exactly.
We brought Dean Smith into this club, didn't we? Because we loved his style, his attacking, and the amount of times Brentford took us apart in the Championship.
Yeah.
But we need to give him the tools to be able to implement that style.
Definitely.
And that brings us on to the recruitment, really. I think from touching on that 2015-16, we brought in a lot of unknown players. We just plucked them from the French division, from the Belgian division, from the Spanish, and we hoped that we could bring them all in and they start doing a job in the Premier League. But it didn't work then. But it could have worked if we was an established Premier League club. Yeah. And then you can bring these players in, they've got time to bed in, learn the language, get settled, get used to the English culture, get used to the game.
Yeah. Sort
of what we're seeing now with Douglas Luiz, that little bit of time, and he's producing now. We had players like Adama Traore, Veretout, Jordan Amavi, Veretout, Idrissa Gana. Yeah. And then players left us once we got relegated, went elsewhere for a couple of seasons, and now they've got big moves to top European teams, challenging in Europe. Yeah. So the strategy can work, but we need to be an established side.
Yeah.
And that is not what we are at the minute. And I think last season's success, the summer before, we had all the fallout from the playoff final after losing to Fulham. We had Dr. Tony leaving, and then the new owners coming in just before deadline day. And then March time, we was a mid-table Championship team, 13th, I think we was, probably looking over our shoulder more than we was looking up. We had this fantastic run, which we all loved. It was fantastic being a Villa fan, that run. We'll never forget it. And, it all accumulated in that trip to Wembley, and what a weekend. But it didn't allow us the chance to put foundations in for next season.
We didn't have a plan, did we?
No. And for me, you build the foundations, and what we've done this summer, we only come up with about 9 senior players, didn't we? We had a backbone of Grealish, McGinn and Mings. And we had to go out and get these players, but we've sort of built a house ready to go for this season. And it started off great. We was putting the performances in, we was playing some nice stuff. We was just a little naive, we was getting caught. Every mistake we made got punished.
Yeah.
And then cracks start to show. And then the confidence is dropping. We're playing well, but we're not getting nothing. The confidence is dropping. And now I feel like the house is crumbling. Because we've got no foundations, the house is crumbling. But that's not to say I still believe we're in it. I still believe it will go to the last day. And I still believe we can stay up.
Yeah.
And I just think with these owners, we need to stay up, and then we can start to build it.
Yeah. Everything that you've said, it was like a story, and it was so good what you've just explained, because I think it shows the journey that we have been on, and it is a journey, but it also shows that it's a steep learning curve, and you've got to think fast. And I think at times we probably haven't been on that pulse at the right moment in time. So like you going back to the recruitment, it's just too much, isn't it? Like you said, we've done the same as what we did in 2015. Yeah, some of the players that we probably have got at the minute are probably going to go on to amazing things, could play for Barcelona, could play for PSG, but we need them to be performing right now, and that is the issue. And I think what you said about Dean Smith is bang on as well. Let's not forget why we got Dean Smith here. It's because of his style of play. And at the minute, we're not seeing that at all for whatever reason. So I think I still want him to stay. And I think he probably is the best man for the job eventually. But you've got, like you said, you've got to give him the tools that he wants to have. And I think part of the issue in the summer was as well, is that teams knew we had to sign players. So if you go to Leeds and you want Phillips, they're not going to give us him for 10 million, are they? You go to, you want Webster, you want all these players, it was like we had a gun to our head. Like we just couldn't get what we wanted because we were being held hostage, basically, because they knew they could get the money out of us eventually, and that's what I thought let us down in the Championship, that the squad eventually was so threadbare when we came up. You know, we got promoted with half a team, basically. And we're having to build a team to get a team to play in this league. Compare us to Sheffield United. Do I think we got better players than Sheffield United? Yes, but they were an established team. We weren't.
Yes, they come up from League One together. They know each other, and it's similar to Wolves. Wolves come up with an established team. You know, they all had a great starting 11 and a great spine. We didn't even have a spine.
No. And let's not forget, Neves played in the Championship.
Yeah,
you know, they haven't stumbled across him in the Premier League. He had a season in the Championship. Yeah, he tore it apart, but he still was on a journey with them.
Yeah, Diogo Jota,
exactly.
Connor Cody. You know, that spine was there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this is what slightly makes me a little bit negative moving forward towards Villa, in the fact that, do I trust us to make the right decisions now at the right time, and the decisions to work, for example? And I spoke about it in the last podcast about Grealish, and one of my main issues with him leaving is that I just do not trust us to either replace him or get a team good enough to make do without him. That would be my only worry. How do you feel on that?
Yeah, it's been proven, isn't it, when a player such as that, an icon, and he's our icon. There's a bloody picture of him on the North Stand. Yeah. You know, he's everyone's role model. He's our hero. And you've seen with Tottenham when they tried to replace Bale, they went out and signed about 8 players, and it didn't work. But then I always remember when York left, and for me as a young kid, I was absolutely gutted. But I think we had one of our best seasons. Yeah. Once he left. So sometimes you get that. I think I remember Everton doing the same when Rooney went to Man U, and Everton had a great season. Sometimes when you lose that sort of player, you all club together and you become pretty much more of a team. Yeah. If we stay up, we might have a chance of keeping him. Yeah. With all this COVID going on, I think, I didn't read the story, but I seen like the headline of Man United don't want to pay 50 million for Sancho. Yeah. I think, well, you've made a rod for your own back there, because you've signed Maguire, an England international, for 80 million. So if you think you're getting Grealish and Sancho for under 50 million each, no chance.
I mean, I would hope we've learned from our transfer window in the fact that the price we want for him, basically. Yeah. He goes on our terms if he does go, in this fact that it's the money that we want, basically. Because if he does leave, then it's going to be crucial that we do get that. So moving forward to Liverpool, can I just get a score prediction from that game? I'm not expecting much, but
no. I'd never say we'll lose, even if it's in my head. It will never come out my mouth. So let's go 0-0. Let's try and get a point. But I don't know why, I put my neck on the back, I just feel like a sneaky 1-0.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm going to put some money on a 1-0, so if that one comes in, great.
I'll be buzzing.
Yeah,
me too, mate. Get that. Cool, mate. Thank you for your call.
All right. Okay. Speak soon, mate.
Thank you. So I'm now joined by Ben. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. So moving on to the next 6 games, how do you feel like that's going to go?
Well, we've got the new champions every Saturday, so let's hopefully they've been out on the session a bit all over, so we can at least try and nick a point, a 0-0 somewhere. Yeah. United, they just battered Brighton yesterday, so I can't see us getting much there. But then I think I tweeted it the other day, if we can still be in touch by the Palace game, we might have a chance of staying up. I mean, I think you tweeted me the other day saying we've got the most points out of the bottom 4 so far, even though they've only picked up 2. Gives us a little glimmer of hope. So you never know, mate. You never know.
I think that's just the crazy thing about it. Like, if you look at Villa at the minute, you think we're not playing that well. We've got 2 points out of 4, but everybody around us hasn't got any points either.
I know.
You know, we'd have been dead and buried by now. But it just feels we get given.
I just think I don't think the crowds are helping us even not having a crowd. I think the whole quality of the whole football since we've been back throughout the whole Premier League has been affected massively by not having a crowd.
Yeah.
I think the quality's been terrible. I think the Chelsea Man City game, that's about the best one we've had so far, and that wasn't the greatest game. So I think the whole quality, the game is missing the fans basically. I think, which is it's a shame, isn't it? Really, because there possibly would have been ways round the thing with it now being 1 metre and stuff like that. I mean, you could have had a person sitting there or two, a father and a son, and then possibly a few seats down, another family, and then could have done it, even if it was just season ticket holders, you know what I mean? You could have done something. So I think the game is really missing the fans at the minute.
Really on a whole, what have you made of Villa this season?
At the start of the season, if you'd offered me 17th, I'd rip your hand off.
Yeah.
And we can still finish 17th.
Yeah.
So we've come this far. So, we just got to survive this season. I think Jack's going either way now, the way things are going, the way he's playing. I think he's on the way. And he deserves it. He's the best player we've had down Villa Park for donkeys. He's just next level, and he's Champions League player. But we've got to build a team. If we stay up, we've got to build a quality team.
Who do you think's job that will be? Will it be Dean Smith's?
Yeah, I think he'll still be there next. If we stay up, it'll be his job still. It's his to lose, isn't it? I mean, the recruitment has been horrendous. I mean, we didn't recruit any players with any Premier League experience except for Heaton, and then he obviously got injured. So obviously we lost all Premier League experience at the back. I know Mings played a little bit, but we didn't have many appearances. I mean, Begin, Scottish Premier League, Grealish had a bit of experience, but he was nowhere near the level he's at now, back then. So we were really an experienced team. So we hopefully next year, if we stay up, we've got a year behind us. We can push on a little bit, maybe finish 16th.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to Liverpool, like we've said earlier, it's not going to be an easy game. Probably not going to be a nice game for us to watch either. Have we got any chance of getting anything?
Unless they're seriously hungover, been on a week-long, been on the sesh all week. I don't know. We might be able to sneak a point, but I dread to think it's going to be 3-4, 5-0. I don't like to be negative. I like to be positive, but I can't see us getting anything. But then again, we haven't done that bad there recently, haven't we? The last few seasons we've been up there. We've done too bad, so you never know.
Yeah, my only thing with us playing them as well is it's going to be their first home game since being champions.
Yeah. But again, it comes back to the crowd, doesn't it? They're not there.
Yeah, but I just don't like the thought of it. I think it's just going to be like they're taking their trophy back home, aren't they?
Yeah.
And what a team to play, Aston Villa.
Yeah.
What are your score predictions then?
3-0 Liverpool, if I'm honest. Yeah. Yeah. I know it's terrible, isn't it? It's terrible.
Cool, mate. So, last caller of the night, Seb, back by popular demand. He's had a few little reviews in the comments section, so everybody loves you at the minute. So, moving forward now with Aston Villa, where do you see we are? Which direction do you see us going in?
Well, I mean, we could go one of two ways, and that all stems down to whether we go down or not. I think ultimately the transfer side of things with Aston Villa needs a massive rebuild. I think that's plain for everyone to see, Villa fan or non-Villa fan. The transfers we brought in weren't good enough. Okay, Smith has had his card dealt for him by Suso, and they were completely the wrong cards. Okay, for example, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. Smith didn't get any of the first team players he wanted to sign. Okay, Malpay went to Brighton because we didn't want to pay enough. We got Wesley instead. Hasn't been good enough. Okay, we wanted Calvin Phillips. Didn't pay enough. We got Marvelous Nakamba. We got Adam Webster. Didn't pay enough. Okay, we ended up with Bjorn Engels. Okay, that's just off the top of my head. We were close to Jack Butland, but I think we upgraded with Heaton there. Yeah. And obviously the big one is Ben Rama from Brentford, and we ended up with Trezeguet, El Ghazi, and Hotter, which all three of them couldn't tie his laces combined. It is a travesty, what's happened this season, because Villa seemed to think when they came up that they would be able to get success and, play well and get higher up the league without spending the necessary cash. And, I know, everyone watching this knows that isn't possible. Okay. You look at Wolves, you look at how much they spent. Okay. Obviously, I hate to admit it, but Wolves have done well. And that's what we should have been basing ourselves off, really.
Yeah, I think you make some, again, really good points on the recruitment side of things. So moving forward again on top of that, do you feel like it's going to be solely down to Dean Smith in the future when he signs players? Are we going to have learned from our lessons from 2015, 2019's transfer windows, or are we going to keep making the same mistakes?
Well, I mean, we're Aston Villa, so you never know the answer to that question. It could be 30 years' time and we'd still be making the same mistakes.
To be fair,
in all seriousness.
That was a question that I hope we learn the answer from the question that I've just made, basically. But I'll have your input.
Look, in all seriousness, we have to learn from our mistakes. Okay, that's what the best football clubs do. They go out, they make mistakes, but they learn from them and they know not to do that again. Okay, 2015 is so similar. Obviously, it's not as toxic, it's not as bad, and it's not as, a disaster as this season has been as 2015. But it is got some similarities. Okay, these young upcoming players that just aren't good enough at the moment. They haven't been able to gel as a team. They haven't almost cared enough. And I've heard loads of people say it. Adoma, Jedinak, Whelan, okay, they're probably not up to the standard, but do you really think Adoma would have done a worse job than Hotta or El Ghazi this season? No. Or Jedinak for Marvelous Nakamba? Maybe not. But, you can't keep making the same mistakes. If we come up in 3 years' time, are we going to do this all again? Go out and buy loads of youth players and hope, fingers crossed, that they turn out to be something good. It's not.
Do you feel like we're going to have made a full circle then, in the sense of, although we've not had the toxic players on the pitch, do you feel like the fan base could turn toxic if we go down and then we are totally back to square one? Because one thing that we learned from being in the Championship is we got our Villa back, we got the fan base back, we got the positivity on the pitch back.
100%.
If we go down, are we just going to be back to square one again? Because we're going to be in the real rebuild job again, aren't we?
I've said this hundreds and thousands of times. If we go down, we're back to square one, just like you said. We're back to almost that, offload anyone that doesn't want to be here. Okay, Trezeguet, for one, I know he has a deal in place with Galatasaray. If we go down, the type of player I want at my football club, I want the type of player at my football club who's willing to fight, who's willing to bleed and die for this football club. Okay, do anything to get the 3 points. To know that someone, if we're not good enough for him, or if we go down, that he's just going to be able to jet abroad, you know what? Do one, get out, because I don't want you here. And, you could be Trezeguet, you could be someone low, Louis Barry, you could be Jack Grealish. If you don't want to play for this football club, go. Okay, the door is open for you now. Because if we end up going down, I don't want people here who aren't gonna play well for us in the Championship because they don't ultimately give.
Yeah, but is that not shown right now though? We're going into some games and we're looking off the pace slightly. We're looking quite lethargic. Although I don't want to say we're not trying, but we do look like we lack belief, desire, hunger, fight, even at this moment in time. And it's just tough to watch at times. And like you've just said then, are we looking at players like Trezeguet that know they're not going to be here in a month's time? And that's the issue. And that's boils down to recruitment again, that we haven't got the hungry players that we need to be fighting. And for me, that's a real issue. And it's one that I hope we can address. And I hope Dean Smith does get the recruitment and he is able to build the team that he needs to do the job to climb the table or stay in the league or whatever the remit is going to be. So can I just grab a score prediction for the Liverpool game for you?
I'll tell you what, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Liverpool, they could play the youngsters. You know, I think some of us are hoping, almost praying that they play their youngsters at this point. I will go for 3-0 Liverpool win. But can I just say before we go that Villa are so lucky this season, because if this was any other season, we'd 100% be dead and buried by now. And you look on Twitter and the only positive you get is that fans are suddenly excited. We've gone from 19th to 18th on goal difference because another team lost by a bigger goal margin. You know, that's not the Aston Villa I want. But we'll be all right this season. I've changed my tune. We'll be all right this season.
Hopefully. Well, thank you for your call. Up the Villa, mate. Thank you.
Up the Villa.
Speak to you soon. There we have it. Episode 6 is finished. 5 brilliant calls from, the heartbeat of Aston Villa Football Club, the fans. I just want to thank all of the callers for coming on and everybody for watching this video. If you can like and subscribe the video, it'd be highly appreciated from myself. If you do want to get involved, drop me a message on Twitter, LukeRobinson89, or comment below on Up the Villa podcast. Speak to you all soon. Up the Villa.